What is up, YouTubers? Warrenaterz here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be putting together a new series. I want to help you guys out with video editing and that kind of thing. I feel I can share many things with you guys. I hope my videos will be helpful in the future. But I just want to give you a few pointers for when you create your videos and that kind of thing. So this video series is going to consist of many things. It's going to be like things like how I record my videos and my content. It's going to be guides to things like software, like Sony Movie Studio and Audacity. And it's going to have a variety of things in it. So yeah, today I want to start the series with Fraps. This is how I record my monitor. It's very useful, and I bought it a few months ago actually. I bought it about a year ago, thinking about it. I've used it for pretty much every single thing I've recorded on a computer screen whatsoever, and it's really cheap, so I advise that you purchase this software. So yeah, let's get into it. So this is the window. Basically when you load Fraps, it will load up in the bottom corner. It might not actually do this, so yeah, you might have to go to the start menu and type in Fraps like that. So yeah, it does require admin privileges, so that's why you've got a shield next to the icon as well. So yeah, because it's recording your screen, but it's absolutely no problem. Okay, so Fraps, you've got 4 tabs. Each is basically separated into its own like priorities. So you got the general tab, FPS tab, movies tab, and screenshots tab. The general tab is just your basic things for the software, like to understand. So start Fraps minimized. This will just automatically minimize the program to the system tray when you boot up your computer. Fraps window always on top. This basically means that your Fraps window will always overlay another application, so you're always going to be able to record it, or know that Fraps is monitoring the application as well. Run Fraps when Windows starts. Now this is important, but I must admit, if you have a slow computer, you might want to uncheck this and only use it when you require it, basically. One thing to point out is that Fraps does actually require a bit of system power to record content. It's mainly CPU intensive, so yeah, when I record my Minecraft videos, I use shaders on Warrenater Island. When I'm not recording, like, the graphics card pushes itself and it like tries to get the most FPS possible. But when I'm actually recording, it puts a bit of a strain onto the CPU to record the content, and it brings the the usage down a bit on my GPU. So yeah, it is a CPU intensive application. Now, Warrenaterz desktop. This is important because Fraps itself doesn't actually have the ability to record your screen. It only records applications that I think are either OpenGL or DirectX. I forget which one. But yeah, it doesn't have the capability to record your screen just randomly. You have to make sure that this is checked. So one thing to point out about the Warrenaterz desktop is that you will always get a frames per second counter in the top corner. This is because the Fraps screen is overlaying what you're recording. There's no way to get rid of it whatsoever. Now, minimize to system tray only. That just makes sure that your application is stored in the system tray right there. So simple as that, basically. Now, to open it up from the system tray, just double click the icon and that's it. Now, on the FPS, this is basically your benchmarking. So you can set a custom benchmark hotkey. This is the same for the video capture and screenshots. It's very customizable for apps, I must admit. So I use Control-Shift-B just as an additive. Reason being, it's easier to understand. I'll get onto it now, in fact. Yeah, say for benchmarks, I've got Control-Shift-B, and I use B for benchmarks. Then I've got movies, Control-Shift-R for record, and then I've got screenshots, Control-Shift-S for screenshot. So it makes it easier to understand. And the fact that Control and Shift is a very unused combination, yeah, it makes it really good for recording. So by default, I think it is the F9 key, but in some games like DayZ, sometimes you actually use that key. So yeah, you might end up doing an action or some kind of thing. So I use Control Shift and S or Control Shift and R, whatever. Now the FPS itself, basically this is for benchmarks. So yeah, it does three things. It can record your FPS, your frame times, and your min, max, and average. Now what it'll do, you'll basically start the benchmark, play a game like Minecraft, and then what it'll do, it'll get your best, or your maximum, your minimum, your frames per second basically, within that certain amount of time, and it'll also calculate your average. And then when it's done, it'll save this folder or file into an Excel spreadsheet so you can look at it yourself. Now, yeah, one thing to note out is that this thing here, stop benchmark after 60 seconds, this is basically a timer to set the benchmark for. So you can set this for an hour. An hour is basically 3,600 seconds, so it's 60 times 60. So yeah. Yeah, that just about does it for the FPS, in fact. This is pretty simple. This is your overlay for the FPS. It basically puts it in this corner here. You can specify which one it goes into, or you can hide it if you want to. So, but personally I don't hide because then I know I'm actually recording. So yeah, it kind of helps out. You can also specify where it saves things to. So yeah, I'll get more into this when I go on movies tabs, which I'm about to do. So yeah, movies. Right, so folder to save the movies in. This is important because you need to make sure that the drive is capable of the bandwidth. Yeah, say for example, to record this to, I'm using my external hard drive. Now, if it was a USB 2 drive, it would not be suitable for recording to. Fraps is uncompressed format. So yeah, it's AVI, it's really large, and the drive would just not cope with the data transfer. So you need a USB 3 drive if you're going to record it to an external one. And make sure it's also plugged into a USB 3 port. So yeah, many people miss out that mistake. They're like, they get a USB 3 device and they're like, oh, it's USB 3, and then they just plug it into a USB 2 port, and it's, yeah, it basically just, yeah, overrides the point. So yeah, then you've got your video capture hotkey. I already talked about this. Control Shift and R is what I use. Yeah, then your video capture settings. Now, I must stress about this. The input source that you use to edit a video, it must be the same as your render source. So, say if I render my video to YouTube at 30 frames a second, I will record the content at 30 frames a second. Now, another thing to note is that 30 frames a second is, like, important because even if you record a video at 60, it's pointless because YouTube actually, like, reduces the FPS to 30. So when it, like, processes the video. So yeah, by default I always use 30 because it's, like, it tends to be the best compression. Split movie every 4 GB. Now this was actually a bug in Fraps itself, but it was later removed with this. It was a problem with the formatting of a hard drive. If I just go to my local computer, you will see that it is NTFS. Now this was actually a bug with Fraps, but they later resolved this in the update of 3.5. It's 3.599 now. So and Fraps, I've got to admit, yeah, it hasn't really been updated in a while. Yeah, it's been at least a year since it was updated. Yeah, but I gotta admit, yeah, why update software when there's nothing to fix? So exactly, that's, yeah, it's just pointless. I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing really that Fraps needs, I think. And people complain about its GUI and how it looks ugly, but at the most of the time it's going to be hidden in your system tray. No, you're not going to look at it. So yeah, and then this is important, your sound capture settings anyway. Windows 7 sound, this is basically the sound that the computer outputs to you. Make sure that you're using headphones when you record, because you're going to get feedback if you've got a microphone plugged in. I always use headphones to record with. It's just a thing to point out. Stereo, multi-channel. Multi-channel is basically your 5.1 surround. Stereo is basically a stereo. So I have a 2.1 surround, so it's basically stereo. Yeah, so I just go with stereo, it's easier. Now, external input. This is your microphone. I'm using the Blue Snowball. I use this by default. Now, I've got to admit, Fraps doesn't actually allow you to specify which device to use. So to change it, what you've got to do, you've got to go to your devices and printers, and then yeah, if I go all the way to the bottom, you may notice I've got Blue Snowball there. Now if I go sound settings, then recording, you may notice that the Blue Snowball is my default device. I also have a webcam plugged in, but yeah, the audio quality on this is much poorer than the microphone itself. So yeah, to do that, pretty much just click it, set default, and then close Fraps down, reload it, and it will set the default microphone to the one you've specified. So simple as that, basically. Yeah, so right, and then you've got three other settings. You've got hide the mouse cursor in the video. You might want to do this in case you're doing some sort of presentation. And then you've got lock the frame rate while recording. Yeah, so lock the frame rate. It does require more CPU power. But yeah, sometimes there's situations where the computer can't process a frame, so the frame rate basically drops. So, and I gotta admit, when you're recording things like a desktop, it doesn't make a difference. When I tend to be recording gameplay like Minecraft, it never goes below 30, so you don't really need to lock the frame rate. It just makes your CPU work harder. Now, force lossless RGB capture, I'm not entirely sure what this is. But yeah, I do know it definitely slowed down the computer. Yeah, basically, how can I explain it? It's real hard to explain force lossless RGB. Oh god. Let's just ignore it, because it's like, yeah, it's pretty pointless if I'm honest. So I'm not going to explain it. Just leave it unchecked. Yeah, and then once again, just specify where you want to save it. So yeah, I gotta admit, when you record and save your mover, make sure you record into a different drive than what your OS is on and your game is, because it puts less stress on the drive. Because like, I've got an SSD that's on Windows, then I've got Minecraft on a hard drive, then I'm recording the gameplay itself to an external. So yeah, basically it like reduces the stress on your drive. Yeah, I'm recording to G. Yeah, I've got an SSD, that's my OS drive, then 2 terabyte, that's what Minecraft's on, and all my software and that kind of thing. But I must admit, if you have no option, you're gonna have to go with the C drive itself. But all in all, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, it's just something to point out. Now, the last thing is screenshots. Really rather basic, if I'm honest. Control-Shift-S is what I use, like S for screenshot. Specify where you want to save it. I've just got the default location, so this is E program files, Fraps screenshots. Now notice it's in E drive. This is because I've actually moved all of my program folders into here. I've actually got a duplicate of it. I don't know why I've got that, but if I just go to 64-bit, which is there, yeah, I've got Fraps there, screenshots, and as you can see, I haven't really got any. Ah, there we go, it just took a while for them to load. I've got things like Battlefield 3 in here and things like that. So, yeah. Now, by default, it would just go to your C drive, and then you see a Fraps folder here. So, yeah, just to point that out. Anyway, yeah, then you can select the format. I use PNG because it's by far the best format. JPEG, you'll use the quality. BMP is a really large file. I must admit I'm unsure about TGA, but yeah, PNG is the way to go. It's widely used. So, screen capture settings include frame rate overlay on screenshots. Now, if I'm honest, you don't really want to put this on. I mean, what's the point? Only if you're like showing some form of benchmark or something, I don't know. And then you can repeat the screen capture if you really want to. So, yeah, I can't see why you want to do that, because you can basically just record a movie at the end of the day. But yeah, that pretty much does it. So for Fraps, if you ever get lost with it, you can click the help button, but it's really rather straightforward in my humble opinion. But yeah, guys, that is Fraps itself. So I hope you've enjoyed this taster video to my new series. I hope you've found it informative, should I say. Yeah, and I hope you'll use the information in the future sometime. But yeah, please be sure to check out my channel if you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe to my channel if you're not already, and yeah, peace out, so have a good one.